March 23, 1933. The Kroll Opera House is tense, surrounded by brown-shirted Nazis. Inside, the Reichstag meets, not in its own building, which lies in ruins after a suspicious fire, but in this temporary hall under the watchful eyes of SA stormtroopers. Debate is stifled by intimidation. Fear hangs over every seat. Adolf Hitler, newly appointed Chancellor, addresses the assembly with promises of order and national pride, but demands unchecked power. He frames it as a temporary necessity, but the threat is clear. The Social Democrats, led by Otto Wels, sit grimly, knowing the risks of defiance, many of their colleagues already arrested or missing. Wels prepares to speak, a final stand for democracy as the Nazis tighten their grip. The Centre Party agonizes, swayed by promises to protect church rights, but doubts linger. The vote before them is not just political, it's a choice between freedom and submission. The storm outside is mirrored within. Democracy's fate hangs in the balance. The chamber is thick with dread, the velvet seats bearing witness to a nation's fear. The Nazis' presence is a silent threat, their power already reshaping the republic. The deputies know this vote could end German democracy. The Centre Party's decision will tip the scales. Can they trust Hitler's assurances, or are they surrendering to a movement built on violence? The storm is about to break, and with it the foundations of German democracy. The so-called law to remedy the distress of people and Reich, better known as the Enabling Act, sounds benign, but it's a tool for dictatorship. It grants Hitler and his cabinet the power to make laws for 4 years without parliamentary approval. With this, Hitler can bypass democracy entirely, even rewrite the constitution. Passing it requires a 2/3 majority, a safeguard meant to prevent tyranny. But the communists have been arrested or forced into hiding. Their seats are empty. The remaining deputies face overwhelming Nazi pressure. The Centre Party, led by Ludwig Kaas, seeks assurances from Hitler, promises that will soon prove worthless. In the end, they vote yes, believing Hitler's empty guarantees. Only the Social Democrats stand firm, voting no despite threats. The final tally, 444 in favour, 94 against. The Nazis erupt in triumph, singing their anthem. The Reichstag has voted itself out of existence. With a single law, democracy is erased, and Hitler's dictatorship is born. The Weimar Republic's death warrant is signed, legally but under the shadow of terror. Germany's fate is sealed by its own parliament. With the Enabling Act, Hitler moves swiftly to dismantle all opposition. State governments are dissolved, replaced by Nazi commissars. Germany becomes a centralized dictatorship. The Social Democratic Party is banned, its leaders arrested or exiled. Other parties dissolve themselves under pressure, leaving the Nazis as the sole legal party by July 1933. The multi-party democracy of Weimar is dead. The press and arts fall under Nazi control, with Joseph Goebbels leading a new propaganda ministry. Newspapers, radio and film are censored. Dissenting voices are purged. The free exchange of ideas is crushed. Workers' rights vanish as trade unions are destroyed and replaced by the state-run German Labour Front. Strikes and independent organization are outlawed. Every pillar of a free society, federalism, parties, press, labor, is systematically dismantled. All of it is done legally, using the authority granted by the Enabling Act. The Nazis use law as a weapon to destroy democracy from within. In just months, Hitler's dictatorship is complete. The transformation is total and irreversible. By summer 1934, Hitler's power seems unchallenged, but a threat remains. The SA, led by Ernst Röhm. Röhm wants the SA to replace the army, alarming the military elite. Hitler must choose his old comrade or the army's support for his future plans. He chooses the army, deciding Röhm and the SA must go. On June 30th, 1934, the night of the Long Knives, Hitler's SS and Gestapo strike. Röhm and other SA leaders are arrested and executed. The purge spreads, killing hundreds, including political rivals and former allies. Even former Chancellor Schleicher is murdered. The violence is swift and merciless, a message that no one is safe. Hitler betrays those who brought him to power, consolidating his rule through bloodshed. The regime's brutality is now undeniable. Fear, not loyalty, will keep Germany in line. Hitler's dictatorship is built on both law and terror, each reinforcing the other. The Enabling Act and other decrees give his actions a veneer of legality, winning passive acceptance from many Germans. But behind the legal facade, the threat of violence is ever present. The SA and SS arrest opponents, run concentration camps, and silence dissent. The Night of the Long Knives shows Hitler can murder rivals and then declare it legal. Parliament, now powerless, retroactively approves the killings. The law no longer restrains the ruler controls the law. This fusion of legality and terror creates a climate of fear and uncertainty. Rights can vanish overnight, dissent is paralyzed. Legal measures dismantle institutions while terror eliminates resistance. Each step clears the way for the next. Law and violence become inseparable tools of control. The cycle is self-perpetuating and devastating.
Germany's collapse in 1933 is a stark warning. Democracy can be destroyed from within. The Nazis exploited crisis and fear, using the Reichstag Fire to justify emergency powers. The Enabling Act, sold as temporary, became the foundation for permanent tyranny. Once granted, emergency powers are rarely surrendered. The 4-year limit was a fiction. Dictatorship endured until 1945. This lesson echoes today. In times of fear, leaders may seek unchecked power. They may suspend liberties, silence dissent, and label critics as enemies. Authoritarianism often begins with an emergency. Democracy requires vigilance, debate, and protection of minority rights, especially in crisis. The politicians who enabled Hitler thought they were being pragmatic. Instead, they created disaster. Trading liberty for security, they lost both. The warning of 1933 endures. Freedom is fragile, and its loss can be swift. Remembering how Hitler made dictatorship legal is a civic duty, not just history. The Weimar Republic's fall shows that even modern, educated societies can choose tyranny step by step. The Nazis twisted words and laws, using propaganda and legal tricks to destroy democracy. The Enabling Act was law used as a weapon against liberty. We must question calls for emergency powers and never take democratic institutions for granted. The courage of the 94 Social Democrats who voted no stands as a beacon. Many paid with their lives, but their resistance is a lesson in moral clarity. Today, as polarization and distrust rise, the story of 1933 is more relevant than ever. Beware those who promise easy answers and demand freedom in exchange for security. To remember Weimar's fall is to arm ourselves against repeating it. Democracy's guardrails depend on vigilance and courage. Forgetting the past risks repeating its tragedies. We must remember, lest we pay the price of forgetting.